Good morning, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the US-ASEAN Business Council SME program as a sideline event at the 54th ASEAN Economic Ministers meeting in Siem Reap, Cambodia. My name is Utami from the US-ASEAN Business Council, and I will be your host for today's event. Before I begin, please allow me to acknowledge and welcome our distinguished guests, His Excellency Minister Pan Sorasak, the Cambodia Minister of Commerce, the Honorable Ambassador W. Patrick Murphy, the U.S. Ambassador to Cambodia, Mr. Le Quang Lan, Director for Market Integration Directorate for the ASEAN for ASEAN Economic Community Department, Mr. Gabriel Petrus, Global Head of ICC Centers of Entrepreneurship, International Chamber of Commerce, and Mr. David Weller, Global Lead for Trade Policy of Google. I also would like to welcome the distinguished officials and representatives from the ASEAN governments, sectoral bodies, and the Secretariat for attending this event. And lastly, a warm welcome to all of you who's joining us and participating in our SME program this morning in person, and also to our audience who's joining virtually from Zoom and our live stream channel. Ladies and gentlemen, today we will begin our SME event by having the ASEAN Tech Talk and Breakfast Roundtable on ASEAN MSME and digital export, hosted by Google and the International Chamber of Commerce. Next, we will continue our event by having a capacity building program for Cambodian SMEs with our member companies, Visa, Amazon Web Services, and Google. Today's SME program in Cambodia is organized by the US-ASEAN Business Council as part of our commitment to empower ASEAN MSMEs. And for this special event, we organized together with the Cambodia Ministry of Commerce, Cambodia Ministry of Industry, Science, Technology, and Innovation, and Cambodia Chambers of Commerce. We are really grateful for their support and appreciate the great help and great coordination with the respective organization. Before we proceed to start the event, I would like to give a few housekeeping reminders for this event. First, we provide an interpreter who will translate from English to Khmer. Please get your device at the reception table for those who need a translator. You may enjoy our breakfast that we already provide, and you can bring it to your table, but please be mindful and do not speaking while our distinguished speakers are delivering the remarks and presentation. And later we will have an open discussion by the end of presentation and open the questions to the floor. For our participants who's attending virtually, you can use the chat box feature to communicate with us. And lastly, we will also provide a full breakfast after the first session ends, and you may enjoy it in this ballroom before going to the next session at Naga and the Rainbow Room meeting room at 10 a.m. So without further ado, I would like to invite Ambassador Patrick Murphy to deliver his welcoming remarks. Ambassador, the stage is yours.
Junrib Sua, Aikudam, Luk Jumtiu, Luk Sare, Net Teng Alkania, Somswakum, Soksabai. I am incredibly pleased to be with all of you. First and foremost, the US-ASEAN Business Council, a terrific partner. And I don't want to steal any talking points from my good friend, Ambassador Mahalik, but the only non-government organization cited in the ASEAN Charter. Very appropriate here in Cambodia during the ASEAN Chair Year. I do offer greetings to my former colleague and a great friend, Ambassador Mike Mahalik, who's the Senior Vice President and Regional Managing Director for US-ASEAN Business Council. And thank you for the invitation to join you this morning. His Excellency Pan Sorasak, the Commerce Minister and a great partner with the United States. The trade story between Cambodia and the United States is a big one. In fact, Cambodia's biggest export story. Greetings to Mr. Le Quang Lan from the ASEAN Secretariat, Mr. Gabriel Petrus from the International Chamber of Commerce, Mr. David Weller from Google, and welcome to all visitors, especially those just arriving and visiting the Kingdom of Cambodia for the first time. Welcome, and joining me, please, in congratulating Cambodia as the ASEAN chair this year. It's a big, heavy lift, and they are in the thick of it this week, and it's going to be a busy couple of months ahead in addition to this week. I also want to congratulate everyone who's participating in the public-private sector collaboration that is emblematic in today's event and focusing on the important topic of ASEAN micro, small, and medium enterprises and digital exports. Today's event includes an SME policy dialogue and training workshop featuring some of our leading US companies, including Google, AWS, Visa, in the digital economy space. We're very proud of these companies, what I like to call here in the Kingdom of Cambodia, the gold standard, bringing international norms and standards, quality, efficiency, that's quite associated with the American product, if I could say so. I'm proud that US private sector companies are on the forefront of partnering with local governments in the region to share their technical expertise, best practices, lessons learned, and train more medium and small enterprises to engage in digital trade. The digital economy is absolutely vital to Southeast Asia. Over 400 million users in this region and projected market growth to over $300 billion in just a couple of years. However, I do want to note, ASEAN has a substantial share of global GDP, 3 to 4%, and it's growing, but its share of global e-commerce is currently less than 1%. And I think that tells us a story. It suggests tremendous growth potential for the digital economy in the region and great benefit for MSMEs that can tap into this vital market. And I can assure you it is a market that is hugely important for the United States. The United States is the largest investor here in Southeast Asia, and ASEAN as a collective is one of our top 5 trade partners anywhere in the world. The United States seeks to promote inclusive growth through innovation, of course, trade and e-commerce. This includes support for MSMEs, medium and small enterprise development, digital infrastructure, trade and investment facilitation. I want to share with you just a couple of points of what we're doing. The United States, through our U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, has a project called Ignite. This supports the regional digital economy through efforts to expand digital finance, improve cybersecurity, strengthen data privacy, improve consumer protection, expand broadband access and affordability, and develop smart cities. As a side note, you are in a country that's actually doing fairly well in a couple of these categories. Broadband is widely available in Cambodia at surprisingly affordable prices. Now, Minister, you just need to bring down the cost of electricity in Cambodia, and you'll crack the code. The United States, in partnership with ASEAN and the US-ASEAN Business Council, has reinvigorated this year the ASEAN SME Academy, now called the ASEAN SME Academy 2.0, a one-stop open access platform for MSMEs that provides business information and training courses, recognizing that such enterprises play a vital role in catalyzing post-pandemic economic recovery in ASEAN. We're really proud of this partnership. The platform now offers more than 95 courses and 375 online resources. Closer to home, here in the Kingdom, a couple of very quick points on what we're doing in Cambodia. We are also helping to build capacity in science and technology writ large in the Kingdom. Just this year, earlier this year in February, I launched a $15 million USAID-funded digital workforce development project in partnership with our University of California, Berkeley, a very fine institution that is developing and delivering state-of-the-art technology curriculum to local college students here in Cambodia. Just last month, our Secretary of State, US Secretary of State Blinken, was here in Cambodia, and he announced, and I subsequently launched, a new $25 million food security program that we call Harvest 3, that works with MSMEs in the agriculture sector, using digital technology to expand access to markets and increase trade and investment. It's a really important story here in Cambodia, where agriculture is the bulk of the economy, but Cambodia is attempting to move to the next level with value-added manufacturing, and it needs digital technology to do so. We also this year helped inaugurate the Angelo State University of Texas program, an innovative program, a STEM degree partnership with the Royal University of Phnom Penh to help build the digital workforce in Cambodia. We're very excited about these activities. We're excited to partner with Cambodia, with ASEAN, and with the US-ASEAN Business Council. And today is a great, great example of how working together we can make a big difference for Southeast Asia. The United States is pleased to be with you, and I hope today's session is productive and fruitful for all involved. Honored to be here again. Thank you for the invitation. Ambassador Mahalik and colleagues, welcome to Cambodia. Welcome back to Cambodia. And Minister, thank you for the great partnership. Akun Jaran, thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Murphy. Now, please welcome, a warm welcome to Ambassador Michael Mahalak for his welcoming remarks.
Thank you very much, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to try to imitate our wonderful ambassador, Patrick Murphy, with his excellent Khmer. I could try it in Vietnamese, but I think Lun would be the only one who might understand what I say. So at any rate, good morning. Good morning, Excellencies, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming to join the US-ABC SME program as a sideline event of the 54th ASEAN Economic Ministers meeting, which I just noted this morning, the US-ASEAN Business Council has been attending religiously for the past 23 years, which shows the strong commitment that our organization has for SMEs and for US-ASEAN relations. I would, of course, like to join my colleagues in welcoming and recognizing His Excellency Pan Sorsak, the Minister of Commerce of Cambodia and Chair of the AEM in the Cambodian Ministry of Commerce. Obviously, again, my good friend and colleague, Ambassador Patrick Murphy, whom we go back a long ways, and it's great to see him and to work with him here in his role as ambassador. And Lê Quang Lun, the Director for the Market Integration Directorate, ASEAN Economic Community Department of ASEAN Secretariat, has been a great partner going forward in a number of endeavors with ASEAN. Mr. Gabriel Petrus, the Global Head of ICC Center of Entrepreneurship at the International Chamber of Commerce in Paris, and Mr. David Weller, the global lead for trade policy of Google. And I want to thank all of these wonderful presenters for joining me to provide some opening remarks here at this very timely and important event. Obviously, I want to echo what my colleague and good friend Utami said earlier in welcoming the distinguished officials and representatives from the ASEAN governments, sectoral bodies, and the Secretariat itself for attending this excellent event. And I would be remiss if I didn't also thank our partners who have worked very hard with us on bringing together this excellent event, mainly the Cambodian Ministry of Commerce, the Cambodian Ministry of Industry, Science, Technology, and Innovation, and the Cambodian Chamber of Commerce for their excellent support, and we are thankful for their presence here this morning. You already heard about the excellent support that we've received from our members in putting on this particular program today. And again, I would like to repeat our thanks to Google and the International Chamber of Commerce for hosting the ASEAN Tech Talk and Breakfast Roundtable on ASEAN MSMEs and digital exports, doing research on which many of the topics which we are going to discuss this morning are based. Visa, Amazon Web Services, and Google have provided continuous support for the SME workshop Enhancing Digital Trade for Cambodian SMEs, as well as being some of the most stalwart supporters of our MSME program, which has been going on for about 10 years. And since it has been 10 years since we have kicked off our first flagship program to empower micro, small, and medium enterprises in Southeast Asia. And since we started that program 10 years ago at the 10-year ago ASEAN Economic Ministers meeting, we've trained over 25,000 SMEs in all 10 ASEAN member states. And today's program is our second SME activity in Cambodia since 2015. We're also very honored to conduct the SME program as a sideline event here at this 54th ASEAN Economic Ministers meeting, especially the US-ABC SME program, which was established, as I mentioned earlier, in response to a request from the AEM back in 2011. Small and medium-sized enterprises are the backbone of the economy out here in the region. They account for between 88.8% and 99.9% of the total established businesses out here in the region and contribute between 1/2 to 97% of total employment in countries in ASEAN. In GDP, the SMEs have made huge contributions, contributing between 1/3 to 1/2 of production for GDP. While producing between 10% and 1/3 of exports in the region. In Cambodia alone, they produce a significant role in contributing to the country's economy as they comprise 70% of the employment sources and 99.8% of companies and close to 60% of GDP production. These numbers show how important SMEs are as creators of jobs, as generators of income for households, fostering economic growth, social stability, and contributing to the growth of a dynamic private sector. However, they also face challenges such as private financial insolvency, limited capital resources, gaps in human resources. And these are the main issues that need to be addressed if the SMEs are going to benefit from their digital transformation. So it is vital that we support the MSME growth, especially in this era of digitalization. Digital adoption will contribute to the competitiveness of SMEs through reducing costs, increasing revenue, expanding markets, and having a better understanding of their consumers and of the market structures. Along with the rapid digital economy, the SMEs should also be direct participants in the global supply chains through electronic commerce platforms, which increase their contribution to digital trade. And I know that Mr. Lund from the ASEAN Secretariat has been a big contributor to making sure that this development continues. So to ensure the increased contribution of SMEs to digital trade, it is critical to give them the needed support to continue their work. So we hope that today's SME program will be a great platform for us as part of our commitment to the ASEAN SME community, as well as being a major component of the Cambodian chairmanship's legacy as chair of ASEAN this year. And it represents a continuing sign of our commitment to the AEM meeting and to the program that we have started at the direction of the AEM on SMEs. So as you heard this morning from Utami, we're going to begin our program by having the ASEAN Tech Talk and Breakfast Roundtable, where we'll hear from Google and ICC about the initial findings of their ongoing research on ASEAN MSMEs and digital exports. This session will be very important to help us understand more on the latest condition of SMEs in digital trade and the digital trade landscape in Southeast Asia. We'll also learn more about the current assessment of SMEs' usage of digital technologies, especially using this to help us identify barriers and future opportunities which can be useful for future development strategies on initiatives to support SMEs. Later on, we're going to have an open discussion in which I'd like to invite you to share your feedback and your questions. Your inputs will be very valuable to us to provide the relevant support to create an inclusive and better environment for ASEAN SMEs in digital exports and digital trade. And finally, I would like to encourage all of our SME participants to join in our SME workshop, which will occur a little bit later on, to hear more from our member companies, Visa, Amazon Web Services, and Google, about their capacity building initiatives as their support as part of working with SMEs. That workshop will start at 10 a.m. today, and for our virtual participants, you may find the link in the chat box to join. And for in-person attendees, you can start to register at 9:30 in the Naga and Rainbow Room in this building. Throughout our ongoing workshop series in rebuilding the ASEAN economy and our online learning platform, the ASEAN SME Academy 2.0, the US-ABC and its members look forward to contributing to ASEAN's development in a concrete way and helping to build resiliency in the SME ecosystem during this pandemic recovery phase. So once again, I hope this morning's session will be useful for you. And now it is my great pleasure to turn the floor over to our great friend and the great friend of the private sector, His Excellency Pan Sorasak, for his opening remarks. And I'm looking forward to listening to all the wonderful speakers and discussions that take place today. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your day. Mr. Minister.
Well, good morning, Ambassador Michael Michalak. Good morning to Mr. David Miller, Director of the Economic Policies, Mr. Gabriel Petrus, Global Head of ICC, Center of Entrepreneurships, Global Partnerships and Development, Lee Kong Lan, so fellows ASEAN colleagues there. And good morning to you all. I'm really happy that I'm happy to be here, and would like to welcome all of you to Siem Reap, our cultural cities, and hopefully that you have a chance to go and meet and see and visit with our people, and also visiting and sightseeing at our temples. We have about over 1,000 at least, but you'll see more main ones, the Angkor Wat, Bayon, and so on there. Well, it is a great pleasure to see you again, Ambassador, in our heritage city, Siem Reap, during this special event of the 54th AM meetings, and especially for your seminar on enhancing digital trade for Cambodian SMEs. Ambassador, we met during the ASEAN, US-ASEAN summit. We have met briefly, but it was really a very productive time because we have met a lot of potential investors and business people there. So we can tell that Cambodia is welcoming them all the time. Before COVID-19, digital trade was already a smart business. During the COVID-19 pandemic, most of the business had faced a big challenge, and they tried to survive by moving to online. And more technologies, idea, innovations, and payments are taking place. This is not surprising that in Cambodia during the COVID-19 for the past 2 years, I've seen a big increase of online business, e-commerce, And now it's moving forward because our people already get used to it. You know, we do online business starting from ordering foods all the way, ordering everything, you know, talking about clothing and shoes and you name it. And we get used to e-payments now, which, you know, you go to some places you can buy and using QR codes and do e-payments and everything. So I think that we are ready to work on this electronics commerce quite a bit. Talking about that, to promote digital economies, on November 2nd, 2019, Cambodia promulgated 2 laws. First law on e-commerce with 12 chapters, second laws on consumer protections with 11 chapters, and entered into force in May 2nd, 2020. In November 2020, the Ministry of Commerce has launched a new e-commerce strategy for supporting MSMEs, which are currently operating online marketplace in Cambodia. It's quite important that Cambodia, if you compare to other countries, we are really moving forward on this electronic commerce. And by all means, we welcome you as the into this kind of market. I would like to mention to Google there, if you can have the training centers for our people to work on using your products properly. That's important. I know that you have it in Vietnam. So set up a little shop here and have our people and training centers on a daily or gradual monthly basis, and to create a power base for all of us to use your products. That's quite important. Recently, Ministry of Commerce has announced the registrations for online business to secure their business and building trust from customers in this online business as well. We now request the online business people to register in our ministries, and that's it's easier for us to help them, especially on the consumer protections issues. Lately, also, our government last week, and in fact, we adopt a policy on postal services. We modernize the postal services, which is part, I would say, a complement to e-commerce. I call hard infrastructure and soft infrastructure. The postal service is what you need daily to move logistics, to move goods and services following the e-commerce law. So it will be adopted soon through the parliaments, and it will become laws in the future soon. So we are modernizing our postal services as well. There are more than we can put in these remarks today, but I'm sure that both governments and business are working closely to support each other in the sector. As you know that Cambodia is proactive in this area, and well, myself and my colleagues to work with you in this area. So by all means, don't hesitate to come and talk to us, and we'll do our best to help you and also help our country, and especially our consumers in that regards on the consumers protection. As I said, you know, the theme here is the MSMEs. I would say that most of our business are SMEs, if not MSMEs. So that's very important to see that our society is, you know, we don't have like big business comparing to yours, but a lot of MSMEs that you need to do, and especially this is area here that it helps us to improve the livelihood of our people. MSMEs, most of us micro enterprise entrepreneurs you can see on the street and so on. So you are moving them into these electronic areas. It's quite important so that they wouldn't be left behind. Last but not least, I wish today's seminars a fruitful outcomes, and thank you for US-ABCs for organizing today's seminar and your interest in Cambodian business. I apologize that I have to run. I have 8:30 meetings with the my Indian counterpart, because today it's the fifth, I think it's a fourth day meeting with ASEAN economic ministers, 54th ASEAN economic ministers and meetings and related meetings. And I'm the chair, so I have to run back because they are waiting for me. But I'm really happy. Ambassador, I will meet again through the US-ABC, right? That's another topic. And I will meet the USTR also. The Ambassador Thai will be here, if I'm not mistaken, tomorrow. She's gonna stay here and we'll meet them. So as you know that Cambodia is geared up to work closely with you guys from the US. There's a lot of interest from the US, and I've heard that during the summit in November, chances are President Biden will come here also. So we'll see. We have a lot of interest from all over the world coming to Cambodia. So with this, I wish you good health and stay safe from COVID-19. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. Could you please have a quick photo with VIP for a moment? I would like to invite Ambassador Mihalak, Director Lan, Mr. David and Gabriel to go to the stage for a quick photo session with the VIP. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. No, not yet. Yeah, there will be like 3 people to speak. So after that, I'm gonna. Yeah.
Yes, me too. Yeah, Marvin. Yeah, not Marvin before.
Is Mr. Chirac? Yeah, Mr. Chirac.
Mr.
Oh, I didn't see. And my regards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will join the meeting. Once again, please give a warm applause to Mr. Pansorasak for joining our event today. Thank you so much for your attendance and joining our event. Now we would like to move forward to the next remarks from Director Lan from the ASEAN Secretariat to give his remarks. Thank you, Director Lan.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Michael Michalak, Senior Vice President and Regional Managing Director of the ASEAN-US Business Council, Excellency Patrick Murphy, United States Ambassador to Cambodia, Mr. Gabriel Petrus, Global Head of ICC, Centers for Entrepreneurship, International Chamber of Commerce, and David Weller, the Global Head of Global Lead of the Trade Policy of Google. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to be here today, and thank you for inviting me, the representative of the ASEAN Secretariat, to this event. So first, I would like to allow me to extend my warm appreciation to the US-ASEAN Business Council the Google and ICC for hosting this important event. The event is really timely as ASEAN, as the regions, start the recovery process. It also demonstrates the US-ASEAN Business Council commitments to support the ASEAN integration process. This is where I am responsible for, and also especially for the development of the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, MSME. So as explained very well by Ambassador Michelak, SMEs are the largest contributor to the job creation and the economic growth of the regions. ASEAN, the ASEAN SME actually represents 97% of the total number of enterprises and almost 50% of the GDP of the whole regions. But many SMEs working in both informal and informal sectors, playing a critical role in sustaining a livelihood of millions and millions of household, family, especially those living in rural and remote areas. For that reason, supporting the SMEs growth is one of the entrenched priority of ASEAN as the regions. But as you are all aware that SMEs are so vulnerable to disruptions, and the unprecedented public health crisis has brought immense challenges to SMEs and caused many of them cease to exist. The crisis also, however, driven many SMEs to migrate online in a various digital platform. So it's evident that a lot of SME could turn the significant challenge into a great opportunity once they have the capacity to do so. So therefore, we commend the US-ASEAN Business Council and a lot of business people in this event that create a partnership in advancing the SME in the digital transformation agenda. This event continue our great collaboration between the ASEAN Secretariat and the ASEAN-US Business Council in advancing many digital initiatives that are relevant for SME. Now, I also want to recall that the recent upgrading of the ASEAN SME Academy with the technical support from the US Business Council that have empowered many SME in ASEAN with curated and world-class courses offered by many world-leading technology companies. And such public-private partnership for digital reskilling, upskilling for SME entrepreneurs represent really a good example of how business could play a leadership role in this area. So I hope that this initiative will be continued and maintained by actively adding a new and innovative way of upskilling and reskilling courses for the ASEAN SME. Now, taking this opportunity, I also want to remind or recall or appreciate the evidence-based recommendation by the US Business Council report titled A Vision for Cross-Border E-commerce in ASEAN, which was 2 years ago. But I'm very pleased to inform you that most of the initiatives suggested in the report are being implemented in different stages by ASEAN. The implementation of this initiative actually expected to bring a lot benefit for our SME. So ladies and gentlemen, now let me update you on some key initiatives that we believe that the US Business Council, the private sector, could substantively support the SME in the digital transformation. First and foremost, I also take the advantage that our ICC colleagues here, that I'm talking about the digital trade standard. The interoperability is the key solution to unlock potential of the digital platform and beyond the future of the ASEAN digital economy. An SME can gain a significant benefit from a simplified, automated procedure and avoid administrative complications, which is still a biggest challenge for many SME. So digital technology may empower SME to scale up their productions and reach out to a far regional and global market. The continued success of the ASEAN single window in exchanging electronic documents, such as the ASEAN Custom Declarations document, the e-FITO, the e-form, actually already set a good cornerstone in this area. So we welcome the US-ABC, the ICC initiative to continue support this endeavor. Second, I'm talking about the ASEAN Trustmark scheme for the e-commerce. It is worth highlighting that the e-commerce is now becoming a normal. It's becoming a new normal for the SME, particularly after the pandemic. One of the key deliverables under the Cambodian chairmanship years, in this year, is the ASEAN Trustmark scheme. And the ASEAN member states are working together to initiate a policy recommendation to move forward the ASEAN Trustmark scheme for e-commerce. The scheme will support the ASEAN government to create a dynamic e-commerce environment with the best practices to address the issue relating to a legal compliance, data handling, consumer protection, and anti-counterfeiting issues. So SME should be the largest beneficiary to this initiative. And in this regard, I also remind, or actually to re-encourage the US-ABC to work with Secretariat, with Cambodia and ASEAN in delivering a capacity building program for the implementation of the future ASEAN Trustmark on e-commerce. So together we can deliver it. The third, even though it's the last, but of course it's not least, I'm talking about the digital business identification. This initiative is now ongoing with mainstreaming the use of the digital ID for businesses in ASEAN and in the regions. There is a very strong need for a trusted regional digital identities system for companies who want to promote trust and confidence in the cross-border trade and to access to a finance, to a loan in the region. So work is now underway to establish the so-called regional comparable and recognized unique business identification number, UBIN in ASEAN, with a stock-taking activity to assess the current landscape and the extent of the utilization of the UBIN in each ASEAN member state, and to develop a benchmark guideline for adopting and optimizing the UBIN. So in this area, I also encourage the active engagement of the US-ABC with ASEAN Secretariat, with the ASEAN Coordinating Committee on SME to advance this initiative. Your lesson, your experience, and best practices are so much valuable for ASEAN to implement this endeavor. So ladies and gentlemen, so in closing, let me take this opportunity and once again to thank the organizer, the US-ABC Council, ICC, and Google for hosting this event. I believe that the public and the private sector partnership is the key strategic agenda to advance the ASEAN digital transformation agenda. I strongly believe that through the regular dialogue that promote the exchange of ideas between public and private like this event, we can contribute and accelerate the digital transformation and create an effective, integrated, secure, and inclusive digital e-commerce system in ASEAN. So again, thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Lan. Now I would like to invite Mr. Gabriel Petrus, Global Head of the ICC of Entrepreneurship. Mr. Gabriel, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. So day. I hope my camera is good. I'd like to start first of all thanking the US-ASEAN Business Council Ambassador Michael Mikulak, Mr. Lang as well just for your comments on the importance of the international partnership and the importance of multilateral organizations like the ICC to actually cooperate with the great work that the US-ASEAN Business Council is doing. And of course, greet my colleague, David Weller from Google, as well as Eunice, Ryan, the Google team, Charlie, and everyone who is actually has joined us today for this great event. And of course, greet all SMEs from Cambodia, from the region that are today with us. We had the opportunity to listen to distinguished speakers on the importance of SMEs in the region. It goes without saying that we all recognize, of course, the SMEs as the backbone of the economy in the region. There are more than 70 million MSMEs in Southeast Asia today, and of course, the importance they have in terms of job creation in the region. There are more than 140 million jobs that actually related to all SMEs, and some of those SMEs are here today with us. However, the participation of Southeast Asian SMEs in exports and global markets remain still very low, ranging from between 10% to 30%. So my colleagues, today we have an important challenge actually in the region, and that's something that we can actually also transform as an opportunity for SMEs from the ASEAN countries. And this is one of the reasons why we are here today, ICC and Google, to make an important announcement of a program that we're launching today with you to benefit actually SMEs from the Southeast Asian region. We see a future where everyone and every SME in Southeast Asia can start and grow their own business internationally, and where every business can take full advantage of international trade. The International Chamber of Commerce is one of the largest business organizations worldwide. We have more than 45 million members. We're present in more than 100 countries, including 250 chambers of commerce in the Asia-Pacific region. And today, together with Google and with the support of the International Trade Center, the ITC, and the ICC Academy, we're announcing the creation of a training program to deliver important curriculum on export-related and digital skills for 1,000 SMEs in the region for the next year. And of course, we want to do that together with partners like the US-ASEAN Business Council and other private sector organizations. The ITC is the joint agency of the World Trade Organization, the United Nations, and we're very happy to have the ITC support on this program. ITC has been working very closely to the ICC and other organizations on programs related to small business exports. And of course, the mission that we have today is to develop and help SMEs transition from offline to online business. And talking a little bit more about the training program that we're announcing today, each one of those international organizations that are part of this coalition that we are launching today, actually they will bring knowledge, they'll bring platforms, they'll bring on-the-ground expertise to deliver an easy to use and easy to understand curriculum that can help SMEs in the region to have basic knowledge on digital marketing, on trade finance, on export, import, contract management, and e-commerce and trade flows. The programs will be implemented by the ICC Centers of Entrepreneurship, and I'd like to actually greet my colleagues from Indonesia who are here today as well. We have a hub in Jakarta that will be supporting this training program with Google for all the region. The training program, we have 2 phases. Phase 1, we're actually training trainers in the region. For us, it's really important to ensure that all 10 countries from the ASEAN region will actually have the opportunity to deliver trainings in the local language. So for us, this is a very important aspect of the training. Of course, the phase 2 is related to the trainings that will be delivered to the SMEs. As the ICC ASEAN survey will reveal, and my colleague Charlie Gordon will present the results of this important initiative that we have actually developed together with Google. The main barriers faced by small business in the region when accessing internet, for example, are the lack of technical support and the lack of skilled workforce. So those barriers are absolutely part of what we want to tackle and address with our training program that we're announcing today. Other barriers like the high price of internet and the low internet connection in some countries. So we're talking about infrastructure and the challenge some of the other speakers have made reference to. Of course, they can be tackled by the collaboration with the private sector and governments. Other interesting findings of the survey, and Charlie will be presenting very soon, are related to what are the main challenges that SMEs have when selling online. And there are three of those challenges. I think they're worth highlighting. And actually, we have used those findings as a base for a training program. The first one being the high cost for the return of goods when selling online. The second one, the barriers related to payment systems in the region. And the third challenge related to dispute resolution and risk prevention when doing online trade. So the training program that we're launching today will help deliver skills that will create self-reliance for SMEs in the region to do more business across borders. That's our main challenge today. And of course, empower SMEs in the region means empowering families, communities to create meaningful livelihoods for all, and of course, reducing poverty and delivering sustainable development through the real economy. We know that SMEs, and I'll conclude with those remarks about, and again, looking forward to the training. They create jobs for the masses, they motivate the development of new products and services, they spur consumption growth, and they play a very important role in terms of competition and of increasing competition in the region. But the fact is that if we're able to intersect digital and trade, and that's what we're doing with this training program, we actually leapfrog the opportunities for SMEs in the region. And the reason why we're doing that today, ICC and Google with our global partners, is that we do believe that as we increase as we make available more digital platforms for SMEs, they'll have access to more markets, they'll have access to more clients, and they'll become more resilient. So I'm really happy to be here today and of course announce this important partnership between the ICC and Google for the region. And we're looking forward to working with you on the next steps. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Gabriel. Now I'd like to invite Mr. David Weller, Global Lead of Trade Policy Google, for his remarks.
Good morning, everyone. This is about the time at a program which, if we were doing this at Google, I would say, stand up and spin around and do the hokey pokey, because you've all been sitting here for a long time. I'll try to be quick, in part because I think a lot has already been said, and I want to make sure we have time to hear from our small businesses who are going to be joining us shortly, and the results of the study. But I wanted to first maybe just very briefly talk about the opportunity that everyone has been discussing. And we tend to talk about digital trade issues in data, in terms of data and theory. And I think it's just worth pausing and thinking about just how digital trade is all around us everywhere. Last night, several colleagues and I went to dinner, and we had discovered a restaurant in Siem Reap, sitting in Washington and Singapore, which had an online presence, had a very kind of unique culinary experience, 2 women chefs who started this restaurant and really developing their own niche for themselves, and developed
kind of a following inside and outside Cambodia that drives tourists to come to Cambodia. We don't think of that as digital trade, but they're using online platforms to get noticed. We were able to communicate with them, book a table, so on and so forth. And we're all just kind of, we think of this as normal now, but just to think back 20 years, that was not normal. And secondly, we don't tend to think of that as trade, but it is. It's tourism, and actually this business, I believe, is also talking about their macaroons in the future being able to sell them within the region, and maybe they'll sell them to the US in the future. So these are all things that we're experiencing every day, and it's sort of crept up on us over the past 10 or 15 years, but it's worth pausing to just think about how remarkable it is and how much digital technologies really have fundamentally changed how trade has worked and opened up. And of course, it's much more than anecdotes. I think the statistic that most resonates with me around COVID is that across Southeast Asia, 1 in 3 small businesses say that without digital tools, they would have shuttered. That's remarkable. That's not just trade, of course, although part of it is being able to reach markets beyond your immediate vicinity as there are COVID shutdowns and so on and so forth, but just being able to operate much more efficiently in a remote environment. And that's millions of jobs and people's livelihoods. So it's the anecdotes we feel every day and see every day, but also in the aggregate, it's really adds up to very tremendous difference in people's lives and economic activity. As Ambassador Murphy and Minister Pan spoke about very eloquently, this is very much, though, sort of a promise not fulfilled. I think there's both a glass full and a glass empty story here. We have to pay attention to both halves of that glass. When you look at, even in the US, by the way, you look at SMBs who are in businesses that could export, only 6% of those actually export. And you have similar numbers here across ASEAN, whether it be along the lines of gender and who's participating in trade, rural-urban divide, and then of course across the ASEAN economies, we have very different levels of sort of digital trade transformation. And I think what brings us all to this conversation is the excitement about what these technologies, whether it be in the payment space, I know we have Visa and Stripe here, or on the e-commerce space, the digital marketing space, AI, cloud, many different technologies. They really do have this promise to level the playing field. So we have sort of the technological capability, but to actually translate that into inclusive trade and inclusive growth, it doesn't just happen by magic. And obviously the key piece we're talking about here is skilling. There are other pieces too around regulatory frameworks. I know ASEAN is working on the DIFA and setting the right kind of norms within the region and globally. That's super important, but the skilling piece is central as well. And so that's why we're so excited to be part of this initiative. I think we, like other companies, have been engaged in this space for a long time. Since 2015, Google across Southeast Asia has trained something like 3 million small and medium-sized businesses. But even with that number, and as I said, I know other companies have done similar sorts of things, there's much more work to be done. And I think what's exciting about this kind of next stage of our work is really working with the private sector, the public sector, international organizations. Gabriel didn't mention, but the third partner in this program is the International Trade Center, the WTO International Trade Center in Geneva, which is going to help develop the curriculum, and then really delivering or devising skilling programs in a way that are going to really reach people where they are. So we're focused here on sort of training the trainers who can then deliver skilling in local languages in locally relevant ways, whether it be Khmer, Bahasa Indonesian, and Malay, in way and on skills that are relevant for that particular locality. So thanks again so much for having me. It's great to be here, and look forward to partnering with all of you in the government and international organizations and other companies on trying to really bring to life the promise of digital trade. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. David. So before we are moving to the presentation side, actually we have a special guest that joining virtually, and they will share their experience while they are doing their business. So maybe I will check with our team here if they can put them on the screen, our special guests from Indonesia and Malaysia. Okay, I want to check if Miss Julianti from Indonesia. Hello, good morning. I think you're still on mute. Selamat pagi, Ibu. Silahkan. Ya, baik.
Okay.
Good morning. And also we have Mr. Martin Perez from CEO of Pet Chef Malaysia. Selamat pagi. Good morning. Okay. So I would like to have some question for them. So maybe we can start with Ibu Julianti. Ibu Julianti, could you please introduce yourself, your role in your company, and what is your business sector? And if you have any experience in doing export, and which country that do you do export?
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me in this event. My name is Julianti. I'm business owner of Sundanika Coffee. My business in the F&B sector, specialty coffee. We process coffee from seed to cup, from bean to roasted coffee. So it's ready to drink. I start my coffee business in 2018, following my brother's footsteps. He is a roaster and farmer. Our coffee is planted in the selected garden throughout Indonesia. Then we harvest and process it very careful. So it has extraordinarily taste and aroma, and it's delicious. We are proud to say that to serve a great quality of coffee. Currently, I have 3 employers. He who helped me to run the business. Speaking about export, yes, I have some experience in export my product overseas. I'm joined Specialty Coffee America in April 2022 in Boston, America. I also only sent 500 kilogram Arabica coffee to Washington, D.C. Recently in July, I also sent drip roasted coffee to Hong Kong through Indonesia Trade Promotion Center. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ibu Julianti. So it's a very big business because you send a lot of coffee to the other countries. And maybe you also can share, do you face any challenge when you're doing export?
Okay. The first challenge is about export producers, because there are also many documents that I have to submit, and I didn't really understand these documents when I began doing export. Fortunately, now there are many shipping companies who can help me make custom and export licenses, as well as helping me to prepare other export documents. The second challenge there is a limited quota of products that can be exported. The third challenge is there is drop in the capacity of coffee production from the farmer in Indonesia.
Thank you, Ibu. So maybe last question from me, if you have any input or message that you want to share with the audience here and also the government regarding the exports.
How much?
If you have any message that you want to share with the audience and governments.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. Okay. I have some input for the government. First, the government must be really serious in supporting SMEs. who is doing export, especially in the term of shipping, because our container prices are still expensive, so that it affects to our selling price. Maybe the government can coordinate with local residents who live abroad to rent a warehouse that we can use. The second, the government can work with private international companies to encourage traffic of buyers from abroad. We really hope to have an association of professional aggregators. The three, SMEs are not always expert on the internet. The private sector and the government can both play an important role in ensuring that SMEs have the skill they need to use the web to export, and understanding of export logistics is also important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ibu Julianti. So now I would like to turn to Mr. Martin. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Martin. So maybe you can introduce yourself. What is your role in the company? What is your business? And if you have any experience doing export and in which country?
Great. Well, my name is Martin. I'm originally from Uruguay, a tiny country in South America, but I'm living in Malaysia for the past 10 years. 4 years ago, I created a company called Pet Chef. What we do is like really healthy food for cats and for dogs. So it's food with fresh ingredients, like the same that we eat in our meals. And it's designed to make the cats and the dogs live longer and live healthier. So they don't need to go to the vet so often, and they can spend more time with their families. It works as a subscription. So when people come to our company, they subscribe to a plan that is 6 months or 1 year or 2 years. And then we cook everything, we pack it, and we deliver it directly to their house. So in the company, we do everything. We source all ingredients, we cook it, we deliver it, and we pass it to the customers. And the other part that we do that on top of that is really interesting is we have a team of veterinarians and pet behaviorists. So we also help with everyone who has a cat and a dog, not just in eating the food, but helping them to have a better life and a healthier life. Something really interesting is that Southeast Asia is the fastest growing market for pets. So more and more people are having pets. Probably many of you have a cat or a dog at home waiting for you. And the other important trend that I see is that the more money and education people have, the more they are treating their pets like part of the family, and the more we spend on our pets. So that is really interesting to see how in Southeast Asia is growing so interesting this industry. Right now we are working in 3 cities in Malaysia, and we are starting to export to Thailand and Singapore. And hopefully we can do Indonesia, Vietnam, Myanmar, and Philippines soon. Fingers crossed we can open maybe in the next year.
Thank you, Martin. I think I'm gonna buy it if you export to Indonesia, because I have a lot of cats at home. So, but when you're doing your export to those countries, do you face any challenges?
We say the main two are navigating all the regulations and all the policies that different country has, or different taxes or different employment rules. So getting familiar with all of that is quite difficult. Many times we don't find it in the language we understand. So kind of being more accessible in terms of how we can export and understand all the rules in each country. And the second one is finding talent, especially technical talent or talent with digital skills, who can work in a multicultural environment with people from different religions, different cultures, different languages. So talent and regulations, I would say, are the most difficult ones for us.
Thank you, Martin. So maybe last message or input that you want to share with the audience here and also the government regarding exports that can help your business.
Great. Well, in the context of this event, I think, well, at least from our experience, right? Everything we do is digital today. How we manage the team, how we collaborate with our team members and colleagues, from WhatsApp to like different tools to coordinate everything, how we find our customers, how we accept payments, even how we hire people, like we usually find them in digital platforms. So everything is online today. The deliveries we do, we need to use technology for that. The production, we also need to use digital technologies. So I think the more we can embrace these technologies, I think is the best for everyone. Yeah, I really hope we can keep building this ecosystem together, embracing more and more digital technologies and helping everyone to be more connected and more effective with all of this.
Thank you so much, Martin and Ibu Julianti. So it's really great to hear the direct inputs and experience from the SME in Indonesia, Malaysia, and I hope it's maybe represents the other SME experience in another country in ASEAN. And now we are going to the heart of this event where we are hearing the presentation from Mr. David Weller. But now I would like to invite Ambassador Michael Mihala to moderate the session next. So thank you.
Woo. Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Utami, and thank you very much to our SMEs who are joining us from abroad and all of our panelists to date. We're thankful for your support of the SMEs in ASEAN, and we hope through this program that we're going to be able to further foster the growth of the SMEs as the backbone of the region's economic development. So again, I want to thank the SMEs from Indonesia and Malaysia who shared their experience. And now we're going to turn to the next session of this event, where we're going to have an in-depth presentation of some of the results of the joint research by Google and ICC, followed by a discussion session afterwards. And our main presenter to lead us through this discussion is going to be Charlie Gordon, the Global Policy Lead from the International Chamber of Commerce for this section. Charlie Gordon is the Global Policy Lead at the International Chamber of Commerce in Paris, where he focuses on policy issues linked to small and medium-sized enterprises and to the digital economy. Prior to taking on this role, Charlie held several posts within the UK Foreign Office and the Department for International Trade. Charlie's a graduate of the London School of Economics and Sciences. And so I would like now to invite Charlie to come to the podium for a 10-minute presentation. So Charlie, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Good morning, everyone. I'm really delighted to be here with you all today. I'm Charlie Gordon. I'm a Global Policy Lead at the International Chamber of Commerce. And I'm thrilled to share with you this morning some of our initial insights from our ongoing research on MSME digital exports in Southeast Asia. So this is a project we launched about 8 months ago in partnership with Google to really better understand to what extent MSMEs in the region leverage digital tools and technologies to achieve cross-border trade. Next slide, please. So in terms of objectives, we're looking to achieve a number of things. Number one, we want to assess and paint an accurate picture of MSME exports in the region. We want to identify and better understand the barriers that prevent MSMEs from exporting. And then we're seeking to assess and analyze how MSMEs use digital technologies to help drive exports in the region. And hopefully by drawing on some of these insights, we'll be able to inform some of the ambitious policy discussions that are ongoing at a national and regional level, but also help develop tailored training programs that can really empower MSMEs in their export journey. Next slide, please. So very briefly, in terms of methodology, The research is based on a survey that was conducted by direct outreach to MSMEs in the region via the ICC network in the region and via mobile polling in the 10 ASEAN countries. At this stage, we have about 1,500 responses. But I think it's important to note that at this stage, the results from Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, and Brunei are not fully representative of the overall business community due to the limited number of responses we've received to date. And this is something we're keen to work on in the coming weeks to make sure that the results in those countries are as robust as in the other 6 markets. Next slide, please. So this morning, I want to quickly walk you through some of our initial results around the state of play of MSME exports in ASEAN, around the impact of COVID-19 on both exports and the use of digital technologies in the region, highlight some of the export barriers we've identified, and then finally give you an initial sense of the role of digital tools and technologies in promoting MSME exports in the region. Next slide, please. So first of all, I think it's important to note that our sample for this research only includes MSMEs that are either actively exporting or actively planning to export. And this accounts for about 75% of our total survey participants, which means that 3/4 of businesses that took the survey are either exporting or are planning to export. Out of these businesses, about 2/3 are already exporting, and 95% of these businesses already have at least a partial export footprint in Southeast Asian markets. And unsurprisingly, if you look at the businesses that are planning to export, they're primarily targeting markets in Southeast Asia and Northeast Asia. So I think this shows that there's significant potential for additional intra-regional trade in the years to come. Next slide, please. So if you look at the distribution by country, I think you can identify 2 broad categories. Countries with relatively high levels of MSME exports like Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, and countries with perhaps significant unrealized potential, featuring many MSMEs that are eager to engage in cross-border trade. And I think crucially, the businesses that have yet to engage in cross-border trade tend to be in the micro segment. So I think this points to 2 sort of overarching challenges. The first one around enabling micro businesses to make that leap, to secure that first transaction. And number 2, to enable small and medium-sized enterprises to perhaps increase and broaden their export footprint, both regionally and in international markets. And I think quite interestingly, if you look at the export barriers that are reported by each business segment, it tends to confirm this dichotomy. Next slide, please. Next slide. So if you indeed look at the factors that hinder MSME exports, micro businesses tend to disproportionately report language barriers and issues around lack of information for marketing. So typically issues that you'll face quite early on in your export journey, whereas small and medium-sized businesses disproportionately report challenges linked to tariff and non-tariff barriers, challenges linked to logistics and distribution. So issues that businesses typically face when they're already quite well advanced in their export journey. And this, of course, has incredibly important implications in terms of properly tailoring the support mechanisms to the specific challenges that each business segment faces. And this is something that we're keen to further analyze in the weeks to come as we consolidate this report. Another important aspect of our research addresses the impact of COVID-19 on MSME exports and how that's impacted the use of digital tools and technologies in the region. Next slide, please. Now, obviously, we all know that the COVID pandemic has had devastating effects on the MSME community. 90% of businesses reported a negative impact on their bottom line. 60% of businesses reported having to lay off staff these past 2 years, with sectors like wholesale, retail, and manufacturing particularly hard hit. In terms of the main export challenges in the COVID context, businesses reported lockdowns and travel restrictions as particularly problematic,
along with issues linked to logistics and both demand and supply-based challenges. But I think what surprised us here is perhaps the fact that the inability to secure financing and credit was relatively low in the responses we received, which could point to the successful implementation of certain support mechanisms during the pandemic. Next slide, please. But what we've also seen is a dramatic increase in the use of digital tools and technologies in the past 2 years within the MSME community. About 80% of MSMEs have increased the use of digital tools and technologies for the specific intent of exporting. And this has been seen across business segments and across markets. Today, the share of businesses whose exports are primarily driven by e-commerce platforms and digital tools has increased substantially, again, across markets and across business segments. So while the COVID pandemic has been quite devastating to the MSME community, I think it's fair to say that digital tools and technologies have helped mitigate some of the worst effects of the pandemic by enabling businesses to continue to trade. And this obviously creates tremendous opportunities for the future. But I think it also perhaps points to a paradigm shift within the MSME community, whereby international trade and digital tools and technologies are intrinsically linked. Next slide, please. And so this point is quite evident as you look at the current landscape of MSME digital trade in Southeast Asia. A majority of MSMEs across markets in Southeast Asia now associate digital tools and technologies with the ability to access new markets. And a significant majority of respondents report using one or several digital tools and technologies to enhance their ability to trade, whether it's via social media, via their own website, or via online platforms. Next slide, please. But of course, this has also put in the spotlight new challenges that need to be addressed in order to really unleash the full potential of digital tools and technologies that are, as I said, increasingly being leveraged by MSMEs. Crucially, MSMEs continue to report significant barriers associated with access to reliable, affordable, and meaningful connectivity. We have about 50% of MSMEs in the region reporting issues around accessibility gaps, whether that's linked to slow connections or unreliable service, and another 25% of MSMEs that report issues around affordability. And this is true of all MSME segments. So it's something that I think the public and private sector can work together to address in the coming months and years. Now, beyond the issues associated with connectivity, MSME also report a host of challenges associated with online selling, and Gabriel alluded to this a little bit earlier. The top three that come out of this research is, number one, the high cost of delivery or return, which is disproportionately reported in markets like Malaysia and Indonesia, for example. Issues associated with complaints or disputes that are disproportionately reported in markets like Vietnam and the Philippines, for instance, as well as issues associated with payment collection. But I think one thing that somewhat surprised us here is perhaps the relatively low rate of responses for issues related to data flows, which points perhaps to a lack of general awareness around some of the detrimental effects of disruptions to cross-border data flows. And finally, we've received some insights around the type of training MSMEs are eager to receive. But perhaps I'll keep this for the workshop later, since we're a bit pressed for time. Next slide, please. Now, as I said earlier, these are preliminary results, preliminary insights that we're going to further develop and consolidate in a final report that will be published in the coming weeks. So there's still a fair bit of analysis that we want to conduct on some of these results. But I think at this stage we can highlight a number of key facts. The first one is that MSMEs express a very strong interest in exporting in the region and beyond. MSMEs are eager to expand their export footprint both regionally and internationally. And And in this context, MSMEs have drastically increased their use of digital tools and technologies with the specific purpose of accessing foreign markets. And crucially, MSMEs now see these tools as intrinsically associated with the ability to trade. But of course, there remains significant issues, primarily linked around connectivity, with many MSMEs reporting connectivity and affordability gaps, and many MSMEs signaling a need to upskill and increase their skills around digital marketing and online sales. So I'll stop here, but I very much look forward to discussing these results collectively and understanding how we can best work together to address some of the pain points that were reported to us by these MSMEs to really enable and empower the MSME community in the region in their export journey. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Shirley. Please have a seat. Have a seat over here, as we're going to enter into a little bit more of an interactive kind of a phase here. We've only got about 10 minutes, I understand, for some of our discussions here. And I'd like to invite a couple of other discussants to come up on the stage. Do we have Mr. Siem Sethra, the chair of the ASEAN Coordinating Committee on Electronic Commerce in 2022? And also, I'd like to invite Ms. Karen Yeoh, who is the Deputy Senior Economic Official from the Ministry of Trade and Investment of Singapore, to come up to the stage right now and participate with us in this discussion center. They will respond from the tables. Okay. So Sam, stand up so we can see you. There we go. Okay, Siem Sethra, Chair of the ASEAN Coordinating Committee, and Karen Yeoh. Great, good to have you with us, Karen. Thank you very much. All right, well, listen, to kick us off, that was a fantastic performance that you had there. I was very interested in some of the surprises that you mentioned, particularly the ones on financing, because that was like, you know, usually when we talk about MSMEs, one of the first things we hear is access to capital and difficulty in regulatory barriers that they face in credit reports and things like this. But to hear what you were talking about, it seems as though digital infrastructure and also just some of the regulatory barriers that, I don't care whether you are General Motors or you know, the multinational corporations, or you're a mom and pop operation, regulatory infrastructure and regulatory barriers are going to be a problem no matter what you're doing in the business. Well, but at any rate, let me now ask, if I could, I'd like to ask first Sam and then Karen to kind of give some of your impressions of what you guys thought were some of the important points that Charlie mentioned, and any questions or elaborations that you'd like to ask Charlie about. And then we're going to open it up a little bit broader to the wider audience. So first, let's go to Sam and then to Karen.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Ambassador Michel, for your great introductory to the session. And thank you so much, Mr. Charlie Gordon, for your comprehensive presentation and guide us through the impressive report that found by the Google and ICC. And first of all, let me express my appreciation as the capacity of the chair of the ASEAN Coordinating Committee on the Electronic Commerce and Digital Trade. ACCED is just the new name of our committee after the 21st ACCC meeting. As we would like to inform that our former name of the committee is the ASEAN Coordinating Committee on Electronic Commerce, ACCC. But right now we extend to another function that to accelerate the digital transformation and also digital integration agenda in ASEAN. We add the word digital economy in the committee. Our first impression to the report by the way, we haven't seen the full report yet. Just a number of slides that shared by the US-ABC colleague, as well as your great presentation and guide us through this. It is very informative and very insightful that found by the report developer. But in this meantime, I would like to suggest if you could share this report with the ASEAN sectoral body to have their view and also to validate the fact finding, to facilitate and to better reflect the current situation in each AMS. It would be very grateful for us. Especially, I see the note from your presentation is that some response from specific AMS is not really fully got for the report. And to extend what we are doing as the chair of the ACC ACC-ED for 2022, and I would like to suggest if the report itself can be identify challenge specifically faced by the CLMV, as well as the way forward, and also any possible capacity building program to address the challenge that faced by MSME in Cambodia in terms of digital export. It would be very grateful and helpful for us. And finally, I also want to highlight what Dr. Lan has already mentioned, the possible and future collaboration with the US-ABC and also ICC regarding to what the digital initiative under ASEAN as one of the three that Dr. Lan has mentioned is the ASEAN e-commerce task map. That is one of the PED for the ACC-ED for 2022. And I hope we can further collaborate with the US-ABC on the capacity building program to achieve the PED for Cambodia in 2022. And last but not only, let me again congratulate for the team for the hard work for the today event, and we hope to have a fruitful discussion with, and also hope to have a future collaboration with the US-ABC and also ICC, and also we'll go in the area of digital transformation, e-commerce and digital economy. Thank you so much.
All right, Sam, thank you very much. Charlie, I think let me go to Catherine now, so that we'll get. There were a lot of questions in there, so I hope that. Okay, good. Thanks very much. All right, Catherine, over to you for Karen. Sorry, excuse me. So over to you. Let's see. Do we have somebody to give some technical assistance there?
Okay, morning.
Oh, there you go.
I don't have very much to say other than to thank Google and ICC for this very timely report. It's actually it gives us a very, like, based on what I've seen so far, it gives me some kind of granularity on the various needs by the MSMEs. So you're talking, when you talk about SMEs and MSMEs in ASEAN or Southeast Asia, you have different sizes, different kind of needs, different types of requirements. So the broad categories of the challenges that have been identified is useful. And I think you have like even detailed it down to country by country level and the size of the firm level. And that's really, really helpful in identifying the gaps and like targeting the capacity building specific to the needs of the MSMEs in the region. And I think one of the things that this report has also quite saliently highlighted is one of the key challenges in ASEAN, which is narrowing the digital divide. When you look at ASEAN, we are a region with quite diverse levels of development, diverse levels of digital integration, diverse level of digital infrastructure development. And I think this project will actually really help policymakers as well as to businesses to identify the areas where we can work together to co-create and to develop the digital economy in the region. I think, what else do I have? I think Lan has really mentioned the initiatives that has been done in ASEAN. And he has also mentioned that ASEAN will be undertaking a new digital economy or digital integration journey by embarking on a digital economy framework agreement. That was actually agreed by the ministers and the leaders last year. A study is currently being undertaken with a view to complete negotiations, I don't know, between 2023 to 2025. And I think that the insights, especially I think the challenges that have been identified, will be helpful as we negotiate an agreement that actually create that environment that's conducive for our MSMEs, which form the bulk of our businesses in the region. And for the MSMEs, I think it's also important that we level up the capacity for them, i.e. we really thank ICC and Google for the initiatives that are being done. I think in 2019, there was a Go Digital ASEAN initiative that trained quite a big number of companies as well as trainers in the region. And now we're going to the next phase of the project. And I think this workshop that you're curating here today will be actually instrumental in actually developing our MSMEs. I don't think I have anything else to add on. So thank you very much.
Great. Well, thanks very much, Sam. Thanks very much, Karen. Yes. Thank you for those insightful comments. Very much appreciate it. Charlie, over to you. I'm hoping your brain is got all the stuff categorized. So go for it.
I'll do my best. Thank you so much for all the very helpful input. So I'll try to pick up on some of the points you made. The first one, and I think that it was around some of the gaps that we need to address as we make progress in this report. I think one of our key priorities going forward is going to try to get the data we need from the 4 markets that currently are underrepresented in the overall sample, so that indeed we can have this overall picture, which can then lead us to have that granular analysis across market and that comparative approach. So I think that's number one. I think you also alluded to the issue around skills and capabilities. So I did skip over that slide, thinking I could talk to it during the workshop. But I think we did identify a number of interesting insights, particularly around the types of topics that MSMEs are eager to further develop as a whole. There was many responses around training around digital marketing, around data analytics, user experience. So we have a broad array of issues where MSMEs are eager to receive some training support. And this is something we'll be focusing on in the second phase of the project with some of the initiatives that Gabriel highlighted earlier around train the trainer and making sure we can impart some useful information to SMEs for them to grow. I think a third point that was mentioned was around the importance of taking a granular approach. And I think we want to approach the data that we have through different lenses. I think obviously we want to look at it from a country perspective to try to have a comparative approach by country. But we also want to take a comparative approach by business segments and perhaps even by sector. So we can really have a clear understanding of some of the specific issues that are faced by MSMEs in all their complexity. And then finally, I think the fourth point that I remembered anyway was around the connectivity gap and the digital divides. And I think that's one of the key learnings from these initial insights is the fact that remains a major issue. And it's something that we have to address collectively, both the public and the private sector, going forward, looking at perhaps the 3 layers of connectivity around building robust infrastructure, developing the digital services and content that can really have an impact for the end user, and making sure that the end user has the adequate skills and capabilities to leverage the services that are available. So I hope that that answers some of the questions, but thank you so much again for the useful input. Thank you.
Great. I want to thank you very much. Those are, yeah, you remembered more than I did there, I'll tell you that. But that's outstanding. I was going to go to the audience for more questions, but I'm afraid we're going to be running out of time here very shortly. So we're going to close off this session right now and proceed to the next part of the program. I would like, first of all, to thank you very much for your time and attention in attending this particular section of the event. And I'd like to start by thanking everybody, especially, of course, Charlie Gordon from ICC and our kind support from Google for providing us with an excellent thought-provoking talk session this morning. And importantly, thanks everybody who has stayed with us up until this part of the session. And I hope that today's roundtable will continue to be useful for you and all of the stakeholders in the public and private government sectors. I think that we definitely want to look more carefully for the final results of the research that that Charlie and Google and ICC are going to be putting out, because obviously, as Karen and Sam were saying, the granularity that's being provided by this report has already produced, I think, some maybe sort of contrarian views that from what we normally think about in terms of the way in which SMEs are using the digital transformation. But again, it underscores the importance of the digital transformation. It underscores the importance of the internet infrastructure, the importance of harmonization of regulations, streamlining procedures, all of the kinds of things that we're here to try to work with ASEAN, with the private sector, and with individual ASEAN member states in order to make a much better environment for SMEs going forward. So please be on the lookout for the upcoming report generated from Google and ICC on ASEAN MSMEs and digital exports and trade. And if you're interested in receiving the reports, make sure that you reach out to us so that we've got your name in the database to make sure that you get a copy of the report and any of the other progress reports that come up. So I'd also like to remind you that we've got the SME workshop that will start at about 10:15, something like that, in the Naga and Rainbow Room, which is just where? Across that way.
Yes.
Very good. Okay, across that way. And we'll continue with a policy dialogue discussion among the Cambodian Ministry of Commerce, the Cambodian Ministry of Industry, Science, Technology, and Innovation, the ICC, and our member companies, Visa and AWS. Some of the things that you heard Charlie refer to in terms of some of the ways in which you can leverage the digital transformation that's taking place and get more use out of the digital tools are going to be the subjects of this the next session, and we'll even have an opportunity there to talk individually with members of the ICC, Google, AWS, Visa, and others to figure out how to best make use of enhancing digital trade for Cambodians MSMEs. So once again, thanks everyone for your participation this morning. And to close off the session, we're going to do the photo.
Yes, we will have a group photo together. So please, everyone coming to the stage, and we will have a photo together quickly before our next session at Naga and the Rainbow Room. Thank you, everyone.
So let's see how many people we can cram up on this stage without having it collapse. So let's go, everybody. Come on up. Hey, good to see you again. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, you're coming to Cambodia.
Yeah, I am. I'm really enjoying it too. Good to see you again, my friend. Yes.
Please go on stage quickly
Where do you want to go?
for the group photo together. Thank you so much. Lo ada linknya nggak? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.